A good lie requires a brain. The people in this video clearly left theirs at home. We've collected 49 of the most delusional, easily disproved lies Americans actually tried to sell as truth. From fake karate masters to imaginary celebrity flings, these aren't just deceptions, they are public humiliations. Let's see just how far people will go to impress total strangers. 1. You know that one guy at the gym who spends more time adjusting his headband than actually lifting weights? Well, one of them decided to create a mythical backstory to explain his lack of progress. He told his workout partner, with total seriousness, that he used to train privately with Bruce Lee's cousin. When the partner naturally asked to see some kung fu moves, the guy got defensive and said, "I don't do physical displays anymore, I'm spiritually fast." He then offered to demonstrate this invisible velocity. He wound up for a legendary kick, took a deep breath, and immediately pulled a hamstring while sneezing. He spent the next 20 minutes on the floor clutching his thigh, explaining that his lethal energy was just too much for his mortal tendons to handle. 2. There are eccentric people, and then there is this guy in Ohio who claimed to have broken the interspecies language barrier. He told a group of captivated strangers at a dive bar that he could communicate with ants using a high-pitched whistle he perfected as a lonely child. But he didn't stop at communication. He claimed political power. Apparently, the local colony elected him regional queen in a landslide victory back in 2009. To prove his authority, he proudly displayed a ring on his finger which he claimed was woven from 6 ant legs, a sign of their royal pact. It looked suspiciously like a twist tie from a loaf of bread dipped in glue, but nobody at the table was brave enough to grab his hand and inspect the anatomy. 3. The workplace is a stage, but some people really need to be fired from the cast. A woman in accounting managed to convince her cubicle mates that she was a secret finalist on America's Got Talent for a genre she pioneered, yodeling beatbox. Because her co-workers were skeptical, she staged an impromptu concert in the break room using an empty paper towel tube for acoustics. She unleashed a sound that can only be described as a bagpipe falling down a flight of stairs. The performance ended abruptly, not with applause, but when a manager from the 3rd floor burst in, phone in hand, ready to call paramedics because he thought someone was choking on a bagel. She was politely asked to keep her art strictly confidential moving forward. 4. Vanity makes people believe the wildest pseudoscience. A woman trying to justify her bad hair day told her stylist that her follicles possess electromagnetic ambition. She insisted that her hair grows significantly faster during thunderstorms because the electricity pulls the strands out of her head. Her evidence: she claimed she measured exactly half an inch of growth after watching a 2-hour documentary about lightning on the Discovery Channel. Now, whenever the weatherman predicts a squall line, she refuses to shower indoors. Her neighbors get to watch her standing in the backyard with a bottle of volumizing shampoo, waiting for the thunder to give her a free perm. She doesn't have longer hair, but she definitely smells like ozone and wet dog. 5. If you are going to lie about being a worldly intellectual, maybe don't do it in front of a native speaker. A woman spent an entire first date bragging about her years in Paris, claiming she was fluent in French and had studied art history at the Sorbonne. Impressed, her date took her to an authentic French bistro. When the waiter arrived to take their order, her confidence didn't waver. She looked him in the eye and proudly ordered "le chicken nuggets avec beaucoup de ketchup." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush a diamond. The waiter didn't say a word. He simply removed the wine list, walked away, and returned 30 seconds later with a box of crayons and the kids' menu featuring a Connect the Dots rooster. 6. Being a psychic medium is a tough gig, especially when your spiritual powers are dependent on kitchen appliances. A woman told her social circle that she had immense psychic abilities, but they were dormant unless she was standing next to a toaster. Her theory was that the heating coils and metal casing amplified the ethereal energy. During a brunch party, she closed her eyes, touched the appliance, and dramatically predicted that someone in the room would soon crave a carbohydrate. When a friend reached for a biscuit, she screamed, "I'm back! The spirits have spoken!" It was a touching moment, ruined only when the host pointed out that the magical toaster had been unplugged and broken since the Reagan administration. 7. Some lies are so specific you have to wonder if the person is hallucinating rather than deceiving. A corporate executive tried to build an air of mystery by swearing she was raised by a herd of alpacas in the Andes Mountains. She wasn't adopted by humans. She claimed she was accepted into the pack as one of their own. Her proof was a moth-eaten scarf she said was woven in the traditional llama whisper technique. The lie became a problem when she started making low, guttural humming sounds during board meetings. When everyone stared, she'd just shrug and say, "Sorry, it's just my herd instinct kicking in." HR is currently trying to figure out if trans alpaca is covered under the company health insurance plan. 8. We all want to date a celebrity, but at least pick one who might realistically be in your area code. A woman insisted to her friends that she had a passionate 6-month romance with Leonardo DiCaprio. She claimed he was the one who ended it because she was just too emotionally advanced for his Hollywood lifestyle. The story fell apart instantly when she mentioned they met at a vape shop in rural Nebraska. He was totally low-key back then, she explained. Yes, because if there is one place Leonardo DiCaprio goes to escape the paparazzi and buy mango pods, it's a strip mall in the Midwest. That's not low-key. That is a hallucination brought on by too much corn syrup. 9. First dates are basically job interviews where lying is encouraged, but one woman took it too far. She spent the entire appetizer course ignoring her date to frantically type on her phone, apologizing profusely because she was allegedly Beyoncé's personal assistant. She claimed Queen Bey was having a crisis and needed immediate emotional support via text. The date, trying to be polite, asked which album was her favorite. She froze, blinked, and couldn't name a single song. Desperate to recover, she offered some insider trivia. Beyoncé is actually super into horoscopes and hates lemons. Considering Beyoncé released an entire visual album called Lemonade, that is a bold claim. Next time, maybe just say you're an assistant to a regional manager. It's less glamorous, but harder to fact-check. 10. We all knew that one kid in high school who had an answer for everything, even if the answer was pure nonsense. A student confidently told his teacher he didn't need to study because he possessed a flawless photographic memory. When he inevitably scored a 12% on the math final, he didn't admit defeat. Instead, he told the principal, "My mental camera ran out of film, and I think someone hacked my brain cloud." It was a fascinating mix of analog and digital excuses. He is reportedly still threatening to sue Google Drive for emotional damages and storage negligence regarding his own hippocampus. 11. Modern spirituality provides some excellent cover for eccentric behavior. A man started wearing pitch-black aviator sunglasses inside the office, making it impossible to make eye contact during meetings. When HR asked him to remove them, he explained that he was clinically allergic to bad energy and that the fluorescent lights were making his aura itch. He wasn't just protecting his eyes, he was protecting his soul. He also started carrying a bag of pink Himalayan salt in his pocket, just in case the vibes got too spicy near the photocopier. It's amazing how bad energy always seems to coincide with having to do actual work. 12. The diet industry is full of scams, but this one was homegrown in a suburban kitchen. A woman declared to her fitness group that she had invented the holy grail of nutrition, a zero-calorie ice cream that actually burns fat while you eat it. She explained with pseudo-scientific confidence that the secret was a proprietary blend of ghost pepper hot sauce and frozen yogurt, designed to shock the metabolism into hyperdrive. Skeptics were dumbfounded, mostly because that sounds less like a treat and more like a punishment. When asked for the nutritional data, her claims melted away faster than the product itself. Turns out, setting your mouth on fire doesn't count as cardio. 13. There is always that guy at the party who watches one martial arts movie and thinks he is a lethal weapon. One such gentleman told his friends he held a black belt in a style of karate so dangerous he wasn't allowed to register his hands with the police. When his buddies called his bluff and asked for a quick demonstration, he solemnly refused, saying he didn't want to unleash the dragon in a residential area. They pressed him, handing him a piece of styrofoam packing material to chop. He sneered at it and said, "I can't do it. This is too soft. My technique only works on cinder blocks and human bone." Smooth recovery, sensei. 14. Reincarnation stories are usually about being Cleopatra or Napoleon, never a medieval peasant shoveling manure. A woman at a dinner party one-upped everyone by claiming her past life was verified as Abraham Lincoln's personal therapist. She insisted she helped the 16th president navigate his severe hat-related insecurities and beard anxiety during the Civil War. When a guest asked how she obtained this classified historical medical data, she replied with a straight face, "He visits me in my REM cycle, and we journal together on the astral plane." It's nice to know that even in the afterlife, Lincoln is working on his mental health. 15. Tech literacy is a spectrum, and on the far end of that spectrum is the guy who claimed he hacked the Pentagon using a TI-84 graphing calculator. He told a group of gamers he breached the Department of Defense firewalls by accident while trying to solve a quadratic equation. When asked what he saw inside the government servers, he whispered, "I found a folder called Top Secret Sandwiches." To be fair, finding out the government has a classified lunch menu is actually more believable than the calculator story. The scary part isn't the hack. It's that a folder of sandwiches sounds more organized than the actual Congress. 16. The classic "dog ate my homework" excuse has evolved, but the students haven't gotten any smarter. A teacher received an email from a student explaining why his essay wasn't in the Dropbox by the deadline. The excuse? "My dog ate my homework." The teacher stared at the screen, confused, and replied, "The assignment was digital. Did your golden retriever eat your laptop?" The kid doubled down, replying, "No, she hacked my Wi-Fi and deleted the file. She's smarter than she looks." You have to give him an A+ for creativity, but a hard F for understanding how the internet works. 17. Some party tricks are impressive. Others are just an excuse to touch people's ears. A guy convinced a room full of people he could divine their favorite pizza topping simply by examining the texture of their earlobes. He managed to guess pepperoni correctly on the first try, which, statistically, is like guessing someone breathes air. And he never let it go. He now refers to himself as the mozzarella medium and offers to read slices at social gatherings. It's all fun and games until he tells you your earlobe predicts a destiny of pineapple and ham, and you have to ask him to leave. 18. Art galleries attract some unparalleled pretentiousness. A local artist tried to convince a curator that he had discovered a brand new primary color that falls somewhere between infrared and pure nostalgia. He called it obsidian. When he finally unveiled the canvas featuring this revolutionary pigment, the crowd leaned in with bated breath. It was black. Just regular acrylic black paint from a craft store. When the curator pointed this out, the artist scoffed and called him visually illiterate for not seeing the emotional nuance. 19. The tortured artist trope is a great way to avoid getting a real job. One woman spent years telling everyone she was writing the great American novel and had a high-powered agent in New York waiting for the manuscript. Whenever someone asked what the book was actually about, she would get defensive and say, "It's top secret. I'm letting the characters decide the plot. They're very private people." Translation: she has a blank Word document titled Chapter 1 and has spent the last 3 years staring at a blinking cursor while drinking overpriced lattes. The characters aren't private. They just don't exist. 20. Video games are serious business, but this guy took it too far. He tried to impress his nephews by claiming he was a retired esports legend, specifically ranked #1 globally in Tetris during the late 90s. He spoke of block strategy, like it was military doctrine. The kids handed him a controller to prove it, and he stacked the blocks so poorly the game ended in less than 40 seconds. He stared at the game over screen, threw the controller on the couch and blamed it on severe input lag and modern frame rates. Sure, buddy. It wasn't your lack of skill, it was the television's refresh rate that destroyed your legacy. 21. Intellectual property theft is a crime, but claiming you invented a hand gesture is just sad. A man at a sports bar insisted to anyone within earshot that he was the actual inventor of the high five. He claimed he came up with the concept in the late 70s during a moment of pure adrenaline and later sold the patent rights to the NBA for $50 and a ham sandwich. When someone pointed out that you can't patent a hand slap, he got defensive and muttered, "That's exactly what their lawyers said before they stole my millions." It's a tragic tale of corporate greed, or just a tragic tale of too much cheap beer. 22. Corporate meetings are boring, which drives some employees to invent bizarre talents just to feel alive. A woman in marketing insisted she was fluent in both English and Morse code. During strategy sessions, she would punctuate her sentences with dramatic, rhythmic taps on the conference table, claiming these were her coded masterpieces, adding subtext to the discussion. It was annoying, not impressive. When a manager finally asked her to submit a written report of her coded insights, she scoffed and replied, "It's already been sent, in light." She then blinked rapidly at him. The team sat in puzzled silence, wondering if she was a human fiber optic cable or just in need of a very long nap. 23. Teachers have heard every excuse in the book, but the digital age has birthed a new breed of nonsense. A teenager told his teacher he couldn't complete his online test because he had a rare medical condition where Wi-Fi causes seizures. The teacher, trying to be accommodating, suggested he take the test on paper instead. Without missing a beat, the kid replied, "I can't. Paper triggers my severe cellulose allergies." At that point, the teacher realized he didn't have a disability. He had a terminal case of laziness. He was essentially claiming to be allergic to education itself. You almost have to respect the commitment to doing absolutely nothing. 24. There are people who think they are intuitive, and then there is the guy who claimed he had olfactory synesthesia for deceit. He told his coworkers he could literally smell lies. According to him, dishonesty carried the distinct scent of burnt toast and broken promises, which sounds more like a stroke than a superpower. He became the terror of the break room, randomly sniffing the air during budget meetings and muttering, "Somebody is hiding a spreadsheet column. It smells like charcoal in here." It made everyone incredibly self-conscious about their personal hygiene, which was probably his plan all along. 25. The alpha male trend has gone too far. A man in a corporate office claimed he was half wolf. He wasn't speaking metaphorically about his leadership style. He meant genetically. When asked to elaborate on his lycanthropy, he growled low in his throat and said, "It's a recessive howl passed down from my grandfather." Later that day, he disrupted the lunch hour by sniffing the air violently and announcing, "Someone is microwaving beef. The pack must feed." He later sent a serious email to HR asking if the company had a full moon policy regarding paid time off. He didn't get the days off, but he did get a mandatory referral to the Employee Assistance Program. 26. Startup culture encourages big ideas, but some ideas should stay in the shower. A woman told her friends she was launching a revolutionary product, waterproof fire. She claimed it was perfect for underwater grilling and would change the camping industry forever. When asked for the scientific principles behind this miracle, she waved her hand and said it worked with science and vibes. She even pitched it to a major outdoor gear company. Their response wasn't a check. It was a package containing a fire extinguisher and the phone number for a local therapist. She remains undeterred, calling the rejection a collab that just hasn't dropped yet. 27. Imposter syndrome is real, but actual imposters are way funnier. A guy insisted he was a certified yoga instructor to impress the fit crowd at his office. He was so confident that he offered to lead a quick stretch session in the conference room. 5 minutes in, he tried to demonstrate a downward dog, lost his balance, slid across the carpet, and face-planted into a wildly unzen heap. He groaned in pain and stayed on the floor, claiming he was transitioning into the sleeping boulder pose. The only thing he mastered that day was the fetal position and the art of public humiliation. 28. Reinventing yourself in college is normal, but a student from New Jersey took it too far. He spent an entire semester speaking with a thick, posh British accent to impress women, claiming to be a duke from Londonshire. The charade held up until the Super Bowl party. When his team fumbled the ball, he slammed his drink down and screamed a profanity in a perfect, aggressive Jersey accent. The room went silent. The Duke was immediately dethroned and asked to pass the chips. 29. Delusions of grandeur often involve technology. A man insisted to his tech-illiterate friends that he was the original muse behind all modern digital assistants like Siri and Alexa. He claimed he consulted for Silicon Valley and taught the AI bots his signature dad jokes and quirky one-liners. To prove it, he decided to demonstrate his voice command authority. He loudly asked his phone, "What can I help you with?" expecting a witty banter. Instead, he stumbled mid-sentence, flailed his arms, and spilled his iced coffee all over his lap. His tale sounded less like a groundbreaking contribution to artificial intelligence and more like a karaoke mishap. 30. Some lies are funny, others are just deeply disturbing. A woman told a captivated audience at a party that she once performed brain surgery during a volunteer medical trip to Peru. As the listeners gasped in awe, she clarified that the patient was a chicken, and there was no anesthesia. When her horrified friend asked why on earth she would do that, she shrugged and said, "It was clucking in pain, I had to intervene." The story fell apart when it was revealed she had never been to Peru and her only medical training was watching Grey's Anatomy. The chicken, if it existed, has hopefully entered the witness protection program. 31. Main character syndrome is a plague. A woman claimed she had such a powerful celebrity aura that she couldn't go out in public without elaborate disguises to avoid the paparazzi. Her idea of a disguise? A generic gray hoodie and sunglasses worn inside a Walmart. She walked through the aisles, tense and ready to run, but absolutely no one looked at her. When she reached the checkout without being accosted for an autograph, she muttered to the cashier, "That's how real fame works. Stealth mode activated." The cashier just scanned her frozen peas and wondered why the lady in the sunglasses was talking to herself. 32. Geographic ignorance is the downfall of many liars. A woman claimed she used to be a professional dolphin trainer before she moved to the suburbs. When asked where she worked, she panicked and said, "In the desert, we had private dolphins." She then pulled out her phone to show proof. A blurry photo of a plastic kiddie pool in a backyard with a single inflatable raft floating in it. "That's where we rehabilitate their trauma," she explained solemnity. Apparently, she believes dolphins thrive in chlorinated tap water and 100-degree heat. If that's rehabilitation, I'd hate to see punishment. 33. If you claim to be an expert, never agree to a live demonstration. A man claimed he was a certified dog trainer who specialized in aggressive breeds. To prove his dominance, he tried to train a friend's energetic pit bull using a hot dog as a pointer stick, a technique not found in any manual. He commanded the dog to sit. The dog, seeing a delicious meat stick waving in its face, did not sit. Instead, it snatched the hot dog, bit the stick in half, and ran off wagging its tail. The trainer stood there empty-handed, claiming the dog was uncoachable. Let's just say his certification probably came from the back of a cereal box. 34. Stolen valor is bad, but stolen hose pressure is just weird. A guy at a bar was lying about being a firefighter to impress a group of women. It was working perfectly until an actual off-duty firefighter overheard him and asked a basic question about hose pressure metrics. The liar panicked, realizing he knew nothing about hydraulics, and said, "Oh, I don't use those old hoses, I use the wireless kind. Everything is smart tech now. Even my fire is Bluetooth." The table went silent. He essentially claimed to fight fire with Wi-Fi. The real firefighter just laughed and bought him a water, because he was clearly thirsty for attention. 35. There is always that guy at the bar who claims to be the secret genius behind a major Hollywood blockbuster. One gentleman tried to impress a date by swearing he was an uncredited ghostwriter for the Fast and Furious franchise. When she asked exactly what he contributed to the script, He puffed out his chest and said, "I came up with the core concept of cars going fast." Because apparently, before him, everyone assumed the movie would be about finding a parking spot. When pressed on which specific sequel he worked on, he got vague. The fifth one? Maybe the seventh? I forget. Vin Diesel and I had creative differences. Yes, I'm sure Vin was threatened by your revolutionary idea that race cars should move quickly. Yuck. 36. Gen Z humor is weird, but some kids are just living in a different reality. A teenager told her high school friends with absolute conviction that she was secretly 300 years old and aging backward like a budget Benjamin Button. She claimed she fought the British in the Revolutionary War and had a tragic romance with a colonial blacksmith named Chad. The story was almost compelling until someone glanced at her phone. Her lock screen wasn't a historical portrait. It was a photo of a musket she found on Google Images. If you are going to claim immortality, maybe don't use a wallpaper that screams, "I just finished history class." 37. Technology is the enemy of the modern liar. A teenage boy texted his parents a long, heartfelt message about how he was going to a late-night study session at the library to prepare for finals. It was a responsible, mature lie. Unfortunately, he forgot that his parents followed him on Snapchat. 10 minutes later, his story updated with a video of him doing a keg stand at a pool party with the caption, "Books are for losers." His parents didn't text back words. They simply replied with a high-resolution picture of a handwritten note detailing his grounding for life. The digital footprint is real, and it just kicked him out of the house. 38. Every guy in a beanie thinks he could have gone pro if it weren't for politics. One man insisted he used to be a sponsored professional skateboarder back in the day. When a friend called his bluff and produced an actual skateboard, the guy panicked. He refused to even step on it, claiming he had just retired due to severe knee trauma from the X Games. Moments later, as he walked away to preserve his dignity, he tripped over a painted curb and fell into a bush. Gravity is a harsh mistress, and she clearly didn't get the memo about his elite athletic balance. The X Games weren't ready for him, and neither was the sidewalk. 39. Academic inflation has reached a breaking point. A woman introduced herself at a networking event as a doctor, claiming she held a PhD in spiritual algebra. She explained with a straight face that this is the science where you balance your soul using emotional equations. Her thesis allegedly involved solving for X, where X equals your ex-boyfriend's toxic energy. It sounds impressive until you realize she just threw a bunch of math terms at a horoscope and hoped nobody would notice. She might be bad at calculus, but she gets an A+ in delusion. 40. Predicting the weather is hard, but predicting the future is a scam. A man started telling people he was a certified time traveler, sent back to warn us. Certified by whom? The time police? When eager listeners asked for proof or a specific prediction about the stock market, he got evasive. "I can't reveal major events due to the butterfly effect," he whispered, "but let's just say Tuesdays are going to get weird." That's not a prophecy. That's just how the calendar works. He has the same reliability as a Florida weatherman during hurricane season. Lots of drama, zero accuracy. 41. There is nothing worse than a wine snob who doesn't actually know anything about wine. A man at a dinner party insisted he was a master sommelier who could identify any vineyard by scent alone. He made a show of swirling his glass, sniffing it deeply, and announcing, "This has notes of aged oak, playful berries, and a hint of leather. I'd wager it's a 2015 Pinot Noir." The host stared at him blankly for a moment before replying, "That is literal grape juice. I haven't even opened the wine bottles yet." The expert tried to save face by claiming it was a non-alcoholic vintage with a deceptive body, but the room was already laughing at him. 42. We all have inner demons, but this woman gave hers a name and a backstory. She told her co-workers that her shadow had a distinct autonomous personality that she couldn't control. She claimed it would sometimes lag behind to gossip with other shadows. It became her go-to excuse for clumsiness. After knocking over a hot coffee in the break room, she didn't apologize. She just glared at the floor and muttered, We are not on speaking terms this week. She's being so dramatic. At this point, she doesn't need an exorcist. She needs to stop watching Peter Pan while off her medication. 43. Hero worship can get weirdly specific. A man at the gym swore to anyone who would listen that he once arm-wrestled Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and won. When asked where this legendary bout took place, he got philosophical. It was in a lucid dream, but spiritually the defeat was real. He knows I'm the alpha. To commemorate this non-event, he actually wears a custom-printed t-shirt that says, "Dwayne fears Dave." And honestly, looking at the crazy in Dave's eyes, Dwayne probably should be a little afraid, but mostly for restraining order reasons. 44. A man at a cocktail party wore velvet gloves all night, insisting he was a retired hand model whose fingers were insured for $10 million by Lloyd's of London. He bragged that he was the hand holding the burger in every major fast food commercial of the 90s. The mystique shattered when he took a glove off to check his phone and revealed a hand covered in blue pen doodles and a jagged, bitten-down thumbnail. That is not a $10 million hand. That is a hand that belongs in a mitten. 45. Being an explorer is romantic. Being a guy with a laptop and too much free time is not. A man claimed he discovered a new planet while browsing Google Earth late at night. When his friends pointed out that Google Earth only shows, well, Earth, he pivoted to philosophy. "Think bigger," he said. "Maybe the planet discovered me." He proudly showed them the location he had marked on the map. It wasn't a celestial body. It was a blurry patch of pixels next to a Wendy's drive-thru in suburban Ohio. That's not a planet, buddy. That's a dumpster behind a fast food joint. 46. Competitive eating is a sport. But this story was a fever dream. A man bragged about winning an underground hot dog eating contest against a bear. Yes, a literal bear. He told the story with grit, saying, "It wasn't about speed, it was about respect." The truth came out later when a photo of the event surfaced. The bear was just a guy named Carl in a sweaty, synthetic mascot suit from a local furries convention in Cincinnati. The only thing the man actually defeated that day was his own digestive system. The real winner was heartburn. 47. Resume padding is common, but this guy reinvented his entire life. He swore he was a backup dancer for Lady Gaga during a secret era of her career. When pressed for details, he claimed it was during her underground hologram tour in Europe, which is convenient because holograms don't leave paper trails. He offered to show a move from the tour. It consisted of slight knee bending, accompanied by aggressive jazz hands. It was tragic. Even Siri on his phone seemed to sigh in disappointment. If that's dancing, then walking to the fridge is a ballet. 48. Wellness culture has created some absolute monsters. A guy claimed he held a black belt in emotional karate, a discipline that apparently allows you to block toxic vibes with a single deep breath. He spoke endlessly about inner peace and resilience. However, the moment someone at brunch gently mocked his ambient whale sound playlist, the master cracked. He rage-quit the meal, knocked over a Himalayan salt lamp, and stormed out whispering, "Namaste." For now. It turns out his emotional karate is just code for having the temper of a toddler who missed nap time. 49. Some lies are dangerous, others are just natural selection at work. A man claimed he was genetically immune to electricity. He told a horrified group of friends that he once licked a car battery and felt spiritually cleansed by the voltage. To prove his conductive superiority, he tried to charge his phone by jamming a metal fork into the outlet while holding the device. Spoiler alert, he did not charge the phone. He did, however, singe his eyebrows off and trip the breaker for the entire restaurant. His eyebrows didn't make it, but miraculously, his ego remained fully intact. That was a masterclass in absolute failure. Now, I want the dirt? Don't be shy. Expose the biggest liar you know in the comments right now. Is it your boss? Your ex? Snitch on them immediately. If you don't drop a name or a story, I'm going to assume you are the one pretending to be a werewolf at work. Hit that subscribe button, or I'll tell everyone you invented waterproof fire.